Hi everyone, this is CJ with Cycletron. Today I'll be talking about how Harley Davidson has screwed themselves by screwing over their dealer network. Earlier this year with the pandemic, Harley decided, you know what, we're going to just cut production and leave everyone with whatever bikes they had at the time, pretty much all they're going to get for the rest of the year. So Harley delayed the arrival of the 2021 models from August, which is usually when the new models come out, to maybe the first part of 2021. And that left a lot of dealerships in the lurch. Ironically, all the motorcycle and car dealerships are considered an essential business because people need vehicles for transportation. They have to be able to service their existing vehicles. So you had the irony of Harley Davidson dealerships being able to be open, but had virtually very little inventory with which to sell, probably around half of what they would have in a normal year. Whereas you had other power sports dealerships, multi-brand metric dealerships, people who sold side-by-sides and ATVs as well as street bikes, just having record sales years, just fantastic sales, making record profit on record revenue. Harley Davidson wasn't in that position whatsoever. Their financials are going down quarter by quarter. As an example, there was a large Harley dealership in the Kansas City area owned by Gale, Gale's Harley Davidson. She's owned that dealership for the last 21 years, and it's one of the largest dealerships in the country. And she recently announced that she's parting ways with Harley Davidson in favor of selling used Harleys as well as other power sports products, ATVs, vintage cars. I imagine she might sell metrics, although that wasn't part of the announcement. She does own a dealership in the Kansas City area that is a metric dealership. But, those large dealerships, she indicated she had a 50,000 square foot facility with 50 employees. I mean, that's a large overhead. I always marveled when I went to dealerships like that, just thinking to myself as a business person, how do these people survive? I mean, they make money off the apparel, off of sales, off of service, off of selling warranties, selling aftermarket parts, replacement parts, things like that. It's a big organism, and you take a big hit by having much fewer vehicles or bikes to sell in a given year. It's going to spell doom. And, that's how Harley builds their sales numbers. I mean, they've got 698 dealerships throughout the United States. How many of those are very large volume dealerships in metropolitan areas? And how many of those dealerships are owned by people who own multiple Harley dealerships? If you're a dealership surviving by having high volume and perhaps low margin because the overhead's so high, and suddenly your supply of vehicles is significantly reduced, that spells financial disaster. A lot of these same dealerships were also the ones to sign up for the Livewire. I think that was probably a minimum $30,000 investment with the charging station and the training and the additional tooling that it would take to service those vehicles. And so, if Harley's putting the kibosh on the survivability of a lot of these dealerships, including the ones that are going to sell their electric bikes, it's a vicious cycle. Their third quarter results come out October 22nd this month. Their stock's down 45% this year, whereas you take Polaris, who sells a variety of power sports products, they're pretty much even on the year, which is saying something for a year like this. So the thing that hurts these large dealerships, and it was alluded to in this article that was quoting Gale Worth, is that Harley limits how much floor space can be devoted to non-Harleys. And if you're like me, I've rarely seen another motorcycle brand at a Harley dealership. It certainly hasn't been a new bike. It's been a used bike of some sort, one or two bikes out of hundreds that are at a Harley dealership typically. So compare that to most dealerships. Like, here's another one in the Kansas City area, Reno's Power Sports. I mean, they sell Aprilia, Yamaha, Ducati, Can-Am. They sell side-by-sides, ATVs. they had a booming year this year. I mean, they went through their inventory. They had a record sales this year, as of a lot of people that sell multiple brands. Harley doesn't allow that with their dealership agreements. So if you're a dealer, typically, let's say you're going to buy a Harley and you trade in a non-Harley. They make that non-Harley disappear. If they own a metric sister store, they'll run it through that. But typically, they'll sell it to a wholesaler. That bike just disappears. So it's sort of like Harley Davidson is a one denominational church and pretends like it's the only game in town, really. So if you're a one denominational sales entity and the one product that you can sell is the volume's cut in half, how are you going to survive? So I had a previous video about what Harley needs to do to survive, and I never even thought about this situation. A clear thing they need to do to survive is allow dealers to sell other brands in the same buildings. If Harley wants to become, to quote their CEO, they want to limit motorcycle production to drive exclusivity. I mean, what am I missing? They're already exclusive. I mean, you can't go to a Harley dealership and buy an MT-09, a new MT-09. There's no Yamaha dealership within a Harley dealership or are part of the same showroom. So they need to loosen up a little bit and allow these dealerships to survive. So with that, please offer your thoughts or comments. What have your experiences been going into these Harley dealerships? Do you think that it's going to take something like that for Harley to survive, or at least to allow their dealer network to survive? I mean, you talk about if Harley pretty much drives out of business their large volume dealerships, they're going to be left with smaller dealerships with lower volumes. Sales go down again. I mean, what is somebody supposed to do if they normally sell 10 let's say somebody sells 10 Harley Davidsons and they make $2,000 profit. I don't know what they make, but let's just say that. So that's $20,000 profit. But now they're supposed to sell 5 motorcycles, maybe with $3,000 profit per bike. Well, going forward, that's fewer bikes for extended warranties, for selling aftermarket or accessory parts, for service. It's a death spiral is what it is. So again, I'll be posting additional videos on this and other motorcycle topics. Please drop your comments below, and I'd really appreciate it if you would like and subscribe. Thanks very much.